A Venezuelan national dubbed the migrant influencer is at the center of controversy this morning. He has been using TikTok to coach migrants how to live in the U.S. by taking advantage of laws protecting squatters. Hannah Doba reports.
In his most recent controversial TikTok video, Moreno is telling his followers to avoid living on the streets in the United States. They can, quote, invade empty homes and live there, saying under U.S. law, if a house is uninhabited, it can be seized, referring to squatting rights in our country. That video garnered almost 4 million views.
Now, if you guys don't remember, that is a man called Lionel Moreno, and I believe he was dubbed by the New York Post as the Migrant King, who turned out to be a TikTok social media influencer when he came to the United States, and the content that he produced was explaining to other illegal immigrants that if they come to the United States of America, they can defraud the system in a multitude of ways. In that particular video, he was telling people that when you come to the U.S., don't live on the streets, don't live in the migrant shelters, don't live in the hotels that are being paid for by these major left-wing metropolitan areas. What you need to do is go into unoccupied dwellings, squat in those dwellings, because not only will the stupid Americans let you do so, but in addition to that, they will pay you thousands upon thousands of dollars in welfare benefits, even though you're doing that. And of course, this person ultimately ended up being deported back to Venezuela recently, but I think it is a great opportunity for us to examine the past immigration policy in this country, because Moreno basically broke every single law that you could possibly break while defrauding the asylum system, and in addition to that, he was only stopped because he was posting it on social media, because he was bragging about it. And of course, the Trump administration decided to deal with him in the proper way, which was to deport him. Now, we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about this. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Ya que me enteré que existe una ley que dice que si una casa no está habitada, podemos expropiarla. Capichi, muchachos, aquí en United States también se aplica la de invasión de terreno.
Now, Moreno's story starts in Venezuela, but his story in the United States of America starts in a similar place that everybody's story starts, which is, of course, at the Texas border. On April of 2022, Moreno crossed the border into this country illegally, claiming that, of course, he was seeking asylum. But interestingly enough, Moreno actually decided to make the journey all the way past the United States of America and go to the nation of Canada. A lot of people don't know about this particular story. And then he eventually re-entered this country because the welfare benefits that they were offering to illegal migrants in Canada were nowhere near as good as they were offering in places like New York City. Again, I will remind everybody that Moreno is actually claiming, or was claiming, that he was seeking asylum, yet he passed through the United States of America, went to Canada, decided that the welfare benefits were better in America, and then was still allowed to re-enter this nation on a probationary basis and was released into the community to suck up those welfare benefits. Again, brilliant policy by the Biden administration, a brilliant deterrent to asylum fraud, to allow people to come to the United States, check out our welfare benefits, go visit another first world country, check out their welfare benefits, and decide that the benefits here are much, much better. Now, of course, Moreno was readmitted into the United States of America with his family under the condition that he would check in with a parole officer, essentially, the immigration services, within 60 days, because he was in the country on a probationary basis. Now, of course, Moreno not only didn't check in with that particular officer, in addition to that, he decided that he was going to do TikToks and explain to people what suckers the American people were. And these TikToks were unbelievably obnoxious. They made national news, and they, of course, documented additional ridiculous crimes that this person committed, and I think it is just best if I show you some of the videos and I'll explain to you what is going on.
In past videos, the illegal migrant bragged that he came to the United States to vacation and now lives off U.S. taxpayers because he had a child in this country. He also tells his followers that he waits for Americans' hard-earned pension checks to come in every month. In another video, he is urging fellow Venezuelans to pay the fines of a 15-year-old migrant who allegedly shot a tourist in Times Square, saying, quote, today it could be him, tomorrow it could be one of you.
Sé que a ustedes no les duele mi contenido. Les duele es que yo facture más que ustedes sin necesidad de andar como esclavos. ¿Capichi? Esa es la diferencia tuya y mía. Que yo siempre voy a hacer dinero sin mucho trabajo. Y tú un explotado, un miserable, ¿sí me entiendes? Un poquitico. Yo siempre seré más que tú. Capichi, métete eso en la cabeza, que no somos iguales. Mira, lo que a ti te cuesta reunir $15,000 en 200 años, yo lo hago en par de meses. Capichi?
So in this particular video right here, Moreno is flaunting all of the money that he is making from TikTok because he is a successful influencer raking in tens of thousands of dollars a month, while at the same time thanking Papa Biden, the president of the United States of America, for ensuring that the birth of his anchor baby didn't cost him a dime. We paid out of our tax dollars for the medical care for his pregnant wife, for his anchor baby that was supposed to attach him to the United States of America from now until the end of time, while simultaneously he is working illegally as a TikTok influencer, making a bunch of money while still collecting those welfare checks. And he's mocking us for it. He's laughing at us for it. And again, he is thanking President Biden because he has accurately assessed that Joseph R. Biden's open border policy is what allows this to be. Again, those are $100 bills the man is flexing in this particular video, and we're supposed to accept that this is normal, that this guy who was country shopping, by the way, it turns out he passed through about 14 different nations before settling on the United States of America. Again, according to the asylum rules, you're supposed to claim asylum in the next safe country, but he had a completely different attitude about this because he said in this video, and this is the translation from the New York Post, that he did not come to the United States of America to work like a slave. Oh, that's ridiculous. That's beneath him. He, of course, came to suck up as many taxpayer resources as humanly possible. Now, of course, Moreno had other videos where he was going shopping at the grocery store, and guess what? He wasn't using any of the money that he made from TikTok in order to pay for his food, for his wife's food, for his baby's food. He was using your tax dollars to do so, all while mocking the population of the United States of America, all while thanking the Democratic Party for setting him up in such a way that he would be allowed to country shop, he would be allowed to work illegally, and in addition to that, he would be allowed to still receive all these different various government benefits, despite the fact that when he failed to check in with the immigration officer, he was deemed an illegal immigrant and a fugitive. And again, the idea that this guy would have gotten away with it completely, would have never been arrested under the Biden administration at all whatsoever, but for the fact that he refused to make that appointment is absolutely crazy from top to bottom. But this was the disarray that our immigration system was under. And by the way, this guy's success, this guy becoming a celebrity and not being punished for it, drew in more and more people to take advantage of the very systems that we had in place because, of course, we're generous people. And even if you come here illegally to the United States of America, there's a feeling that we still don't want to let you starve. We still don't want your anchor baby that's now going to be attached to this country from now until the end of its life to go hungry and all that because we're so generous, we're so sweet, we're such swell people. So this would have been allowed to be done if not for the national controversy. And in fact, under the Biden administration, very similar scammers are allowed to operate in this country completely unchallenged because of the fact that they didn't go viral, because they didn't get the attention, even though, again, all of these people passed through so many different countries in order to come into the United States of America. It is by its very nature a mockery of the asylum system. Again, there's a lot of people that are in favor of economic migration. They think when labor costs get too high, people can come in, they can work, that can help the country and all of that. I'm not making the counter argument against that in this particular video, even though, again, there are issues with suppressing wages when that happens. But in this particular case, this guy's not coming as an economic migrant. He is coming as an asylee. He says he is fleeing oppression in Venezuela, but his actions completely betray that fact. And again, this is just allowed to be under the Biden administration. This is what was, and again, what would have been had the evil orange man not won his second term term in the 2024 presidential election. And the fact that this guy ended up going under the radar during the entire election season is truly a shame, although I will point out that Trump ended up winning anyway, because I would have stapled this individual to Kamala Harris's face. She was the border czar. She was the one making it easier for these people to come into the country illegally. And again, the entire Biden administration immigration infrastructure ended up encouraging and enabling this. Remember, Joe Biden during the campaign said that he wanted these people to surge to the border because that's who we are.
I would in fact make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
Now, to make things even worse, if you can imagine that, not only did Moreno encourage people to come to this country, defraud our asylum system, make money while taking welfare, laughing at Americans while doing so, encourage them to squat in people's homes, steal their property, and take advantage of the ridiculous squatter laws that we have in the United States of America, but he also posted videos of him with firearms.
Gente como ciudadano americano puedo obtener un arma. Capichi. Y bueno, he estado pendiente de comprarme un R15 o una glotona. Capichi. Miren los precios, papi, de esta belleza. $1,000, $700, $600, $800 y $500. Miren esta preciosura, muchachos. Les recuerdo que en Estados Unidos tienes que andar armado por tu seguridad. Como les seguía diciendo, solamente nosotros los ciudadanos americanos podemos portar armas en Estados Unidos con licencia y con prevención. Les voy a mostrar este tipo de armas que son las glotonas. Pero miren lo que tengo por aquí. Las armas largas. Las puedes obtener en una tienda normal como esto ahorita. Ya me dieron mi propaganda y mire.
With weapons, which if you guys are not aware, convicted felons and illegal aliens are not allowed to possess firearms in the United States of America, and yet this guy was doing so on TikTok, and again, without the national media attention that the right gave this story, this would have just been allowed to be. So the guy is openly and brazenly flaunting our laws repeatedly, uploading it to TikTok, making money off doing so, and in addition to that, he is encouraging other would-be illegal migrants to make the journey to the United States in order to replicate the behavior, because essentially he's saying, hey, guess what? These stupid taxpayers, these dumbass Americans will pay all of your bills, you'll be able to steal people's homes, you'll be able to make money on the side, and in addition to that, you can load up with firearms with that government money, with the money that you make on the side, and do whatever you want. Just have a great time, because Americans are so stupid. And I need to emphasize time and time again.
Estoy en peligro de muerte en United States. Necesito protección en Estados Unidos.
That Moreno made it absolutely clear that this was based on the stupidity of the American people, and make no mistake about it, he was 100% right. He was 100% accurate about our government policy. It was stupid. It was ridiculous. And that's why it's important that it got changed. But to make things even more ridiculous, after this guy ended up getting the national media attention that he wanted. Remember, he was a famous TikTok influencer. He was making tens of thousands of dollars from the platform. He then decided that he was the victim and that the United States of America was oppressing him in the same way that Venezuela was. Now, the translation from the post reads as follows. I came here to the United States because of persecution in my country, but they're doing the same thing to me here in the United States. Persecuting me, Moreno moaned. Quote, it's all misinformation in the media about me. They're defaming me. They're misrepresenting me in the news. I am a good father, a good husband, a good son, a good person, humble, respectful to people who respect me, he added. Humble. The guy is claiming to be humble. By the way, also notable in this New York Post article, the guy was actually a rank and file member of the Venezuelan Navy, so he did have a decent government job in the Venezuelan government. Not exactly somebody who is facing the iron boot of the Venezuelan government, but the man claimed that he was humble, a good father and a good son, and honestly, he was quite respectful. He was respectful to the people that respected him, and again, we only have to point to the fact that the government respected his ridiculous and absurd asylum claim, even though we were the 14th country that he landed in, even though he went to Canada, checked out their welfare benefits, came back to the country and said, hey, you know what? I want welfare benefits here. We still let him in. And all he did was greet us by calling us stupid, idiots, rubes, absolute doofuses, and encouraging people to steal our homes, to steal our properties. Again, this guy claimed that he was the victim, that he was humble and respectful. So of course, eventually this guy was arrested. He was sent to an ICE detention facility back in Texas, which is where he illegally crossed the border. And what's crazy about this is that he actually had to be put in protective custody because he was so famous, so infamous, that a lot of the other illegal migrants ended up getting angry at him, accusing him of blowing up their spot. And in that regard, Moreno did do a great service to this country by exposing the exact entitlement attitude that many of these people actually have when they come to this country. So we had to separate them off into protective custody. But then we ran into another problem, because if there was ever a case, even under the Biden administration, for somebody to be deported, it would be somebody who is broadcasting their brazen law breaking, encouraging more people to do law breaking, committing fraud, and not showing up to appointments, and all these different other various things that Moreno was engaged in while he was in this country. But that being said, that was actually not possible under the Biden administration, because the Venezuelan government decided to mock us even further by refusing to take back their own citizens via deportation. And again, under the Biden administration, that was the end of the tale. Under the Biden administration, oh well, I guess we have to pay for all of his meals, protect him while he's in immigration custody, and maybe, just maybe, at some point in time, release him back into the nation and apologize to him and give him more welfare and more benefits and congratulate him on his TikTok career. Now, of course, that didn't happen. Trump ended up winning the presidency, and Trump decided to engage in a policy, which, by the way, has been questionable in its execution with some of the individuals that were sent there, where he deports these people to a third-party country. That, of course, was El Salvador, and they end up being incarcerated in El Salvador's super prison, which is something that we have talked about on this channel multiple different times, and has basically been the thing that allowed El Salvador to turn from one of the most violent countries, or actually the most violent country on the face of planet Earth, into one of the safest countries. However, this was not only to just get rid of these people and send them out of the country, this was kind of a shot across the bow to the Venezuelan government in order to make them take back their people. And guess what? Based on the fact that it's an actual embarrassment for the Venezuelan government that their citizens have been sent to this El Salvadorian prison, the Venezuelan president, Maduro, has decided that yes, they will take back their own citizens. Yes, they will accept deportees, and guess what? Moreno was sent back, and he's being pictured on all these different posts as an immigration success story, and this is why being creative, thinking outside the box, trying new strategies to put pressure on these foreign governments actually works. Now, with that being said, I do want to point out and make this 100% clear that it appears that some of the illegal migrants that were shipped out of this country to that prison were misidentified as Tren de Aragua members, and honestly, if you're the Trump administration, you just can't do stuff like that. You really need to do your due diligence on these individuals when you're shipping them to a foreign prison, because you end up staining what appears to be an unambiguous victory in that you put the adequate pressure necessary on the Venezuelan government in order to take back their own people. However, you did send, apparently, according to a lot of the reporting that I'm seeing, people who were not gang members along with gang members to a prison that is full of gang members. members in another country. That's not an acceptable consequence. And again, the Trump administration is essentially setting himself up for criticism that he does not need and he does not have to do. You can make it so you're only sending the absolute 100% confirmed gang members to El Salvador. And then, of course, you can get the policy concession from Venezuela, and then you can send those people to Venezuela. So again, we might have to do a video in the future on some of these individual cases and where they're problematic, because although I do like the end result, which is Venezuela operating like an appropriate country and taking back their illegal immigrants, I don't like the fact that you have random people, some of them apparently worked as like a hairdresser, being sent to one of the most hardcore prisons in Latin America, which overall, by the way, has been a great policy for the nation of El Salvador. Again, it has reduced their homicide rate exponentially, but that doesn't mean the United States, which should be at a higher standard, should just haphazardly be sending people there. You send the worst of the worst, you still get the pressure on the Venezuelan government, but you also get to throw it in the Democrats' face when they start advocating for these illegal migrant gang members to be housed in the United States of America. Again, that's just my opinion, but overall, it is a good thing that Moreno is out of the country. Unfortunately, his wife, who is also an illegal immigrant, and their anchor baby daughter is still in the country, and this is one of the reasons why we really do need to have the courts make a ruling on birthright citizenship for illegal immigrants, because the idea that you could just scam the system repeatedly this way and then still get rewarded for it in such a way, to me, it's a bit absurd and it's a bit ridiculous. But again, these are my thoughts about this guy, the Migrant King, the meme that has launched 1,000 voters to the polls to vote against Democrats. I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, then show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Migrant King going bye-bye, going back to his home country, getting the hell up out of here. Till next time.